He was a hero. This is what comes to mind when you read the story of Jerromy Brooks, a simple man from Australia. Jerromy was called to save the kids of a local daycare center from a possibly venomous snake when the situation got out of control. Hit like and subscribe. This is Fierce. Nothing could beat the Australian sun, not even the ever so slightly cooler weather of early autumn. The country is still buzzing with tourists and activities, which tends to disrupt the local fauna. In a coastal city of Queensland, Townsville, temperatures were still quite high, creating the perfect opportunity for snakes to still roam freely. It's exactly because of this that Jerromy Brooks, a 47-year-old man living in Deeragun, just 16 kilometers from Townsville, was standing face to face with an eastern brown snake one Tuesday afternoon. Jerromy was a man with a heart so big that you couldn't simply not adore him. A father of 3, Jerromy had a soft spot for kids, and despite his big build, he was a softie. Greenleaf's early learning daycare was filled with the sound of kids running around the yard, playing, swinging, and doing whatever small kids do to feel pure joy. While attending to the kids, one of the educators saw something moving in the grass. At first, they thought it was just their imagination. But on a second look, the culprit revealed itself for a few seconds. It was clear as day, a snake. Without wanting to create panic among the kids, the educator and their colleagues instructed the little ones to go back inside as it was nap time. After ensuring everyone was safe, they made a call. Jerromy was relaxing at his home in Deeragun when a relative called him. He picked up the phone, cracking a joke, but his relative's panicked voice stopped him abruptly. As the family member described the snake that was still roaming free around the playground, Jerromy knew the situation was serious, and although he wasn't instructed to remove snakes, he just couldn't stand by, wondering if those little kids were safe or if the snake had made its way inside the building. The image of his own children kept popping up in his head. As a parent, he would have done anything to know they were unharmed. So without the tiniest bit of hesitation, he jumped off the sofa, got into his car, and began his 17-minute drive to the daycare center. Jerromy pulled into the parking lot of Greenleaf's and immediately started investigating around the cars. He was most of all hoping that the snake left the playground area, away from the grass and foliage that could camouflage it. When he arrived at the back garden, nothing seemed to indicate the existence of a snake. He didn't hear any noise, he didn't see anything move in the grass or on the outdoor furniture. But when he approached a brightly colored jungle gym, he saw it. A 30-centimeter-ish slender brown snake, just as described. Jerromy didn't have a lot of instruments by his side. He simply put on a pair of thin gloves, got a bag ready, and some kitchen tongs his wife gave him right as he left through the front door. He wasn't naive, not at all. Jerromy knew the risks involved. The years of watching wildlife documentaries instilled in him fear and respect for these apex predators. Licensed snake catcher? No. But the idea of those innocent children being anywhere near a possibly venomous reptile? Absolutely unbearable. Narelle Brooks's words echoed around him as he was trying to gather the last bit of courage he had inside. Be careful. The kids were all gathered by the windows, watching the 47-year-old man make his move. This was a real-life action movie, and the hero was Jerromy Brooks. Jerromy took a step toward the snake, kitchen tongs in his right hand pointing out, and the bag in his left hand. In the blink of an eye, the snake lashed out, sinking its fangs deep into Jerromy's left hand, leaving him with more than a couple of bites. It was a colossal miscalculation. Despite the snake's attack, the man succeeded in catching it inside the bag and placing the snake in the trunk of his car. The kids looked at him in awe. They bombarded him with questions about the snake. How did it look? How did it feel in your hands? Was the snake venomous? Did it bite you? Does it hurt? After answering his little interview, he said goodbye to the daycare staff and got into his car. Destination? Home. On the short drive home, reality started to sink in. He had a possibly venomous snake in the back of his car. He had just been bitten by it several times. He wasn't feeling exceptionally well, but he brushed it off, thinking it was just a bit of panic. The pain was intensifying. At first, while adrenaline was still pumping through his veins, Jerromy didn't feel a thing. Maybe just a bit of pulsing around the bites. But now, several minutes after the incident, it was getting harder and harder to move his arm without feeling paralyzing pain throughout his upper body. With a few minutes left of his drive home, it was getting more and more difficult to move the steering wheel. Narelle, his wife, was anxiously awaiting him on the driveway when she finally saw her husband's car approaching. The sight was terrifying. Jerromy was looking pale, and sweat was running down his face as if he had just run a marathon. Something was extremely wrong. Unable to move his arm any longer, Jerromy simply asked his wife to clean his wounds and apply some calming balms. "I'll be fine," he assured her. Narelle sprung into action and got her first aid kit from the kitchen. She immobilized the arm, cleaned the snake bites, and applied compression bandages. Jerromy screeched in pain with every move of his left arm, and his breathing became more and more labored. As she pressed down on the wounds, trying to stop the venom from wreaking more havoc inside Jerromy's body, Narelle had a bad feeling. She knew she had to call emergency services. While dialing the emergency number, Jerromy fell to the floor. His heart was giving up. Narelle screamed in terror, but she had to act fast. With the operator now on speakerphone, Narelle performed CPR on her husband up until the paramedics showed up and took over. The afternoon sky reflected on the ambulance as Jerromy was rushed to the hospital. The doctor's efforts to save him were unfortunately in vain. The tearful eyes of Narelle couldn't believe her husband was gone so soon, so fast, without a warning. Their day had started out like every other one. It just wasn't possible. The snake venom had claimed its victim. Jerromy Brooks, a man loved by his entire community, who simply wanted to save some kids from possible danger and put his life on the line, and eventually lost the battle. Jerromy was such a beautiful human. He went out of his way to help people all the time. This is a very sad tragedy indeed. Kat O'Brien, one of Jerromy's friends, wrote on Facebook. As for the snake that cut his life short, it is believed to have been an eastern brown snake, the second most venomous snake in the world. In fact, Townsville is known to be a habitat for this type of snake. Its venom strikes fast, and its bite is, most of the time, fatal. Narelle did everything she could to save her husband, and Jerromy will always be remembered as a hero, a selfless soul who sacrificed himself to protect the innocent.